Jack is going to be running a mastermind. Jack's obviously had some crazy results. I'm sure he's going to go over it. But over the past 4 or 5 months, he's gone from 3 to 40K a month with his business, and from 66 to 80K followers.
Yeah, guys, thanks for having me. I'm going to go over, like you said, a little bit of a presentation of kind of what I've worked with Seth on, what I've been doing the last few months, what I've been doing on my own, to be able to kind of have this big jump of going, like you said, from like 3-4K to 40K cash collected in February, and obviously growing the followers as well. I just want to tell you a really quick story of how I quit my job, and actually how I got started with this business, with online business, with everything that I'm doing now. So let me take you back to 2025. I was in my final year of university studying business, and I was trying to figure out what to do with my life after I graduated. And so I ended up kind of working with one of my clients, because I was doing videography at the time. He hired me, so I was doing video editing, creative directing, stuff like that. And I was doing that for a couple months, but deep down I wanted to do my own thing. I didn't want to have a boss, right? I feel like everyone in here is probably in the same situation. At one point you wanted to start your business, but it's a little bit scary because you don't know that you'll be able to succeed. So you kind of stick at your 9 to 5. And that's kind of what I was doing. I was in that limbo of wanting to leave, but sticking it out. And I had this call with my boss one day, and he was telling me, Jack, we need you to drive 5 hours the upcoming weekend to a shoot, which was in Montreal, which was 5 hours away from where I was living in Toronto. And I was like, at the time, my mom had just gotten cancer, and she was having the surgery, and it was the same weekend. And so I was like, hey man, like, I wish I could, but I need to go take care of my mom, after the surgery. And fully expecting him to be like, oh yeah, Jack, no problem. Like, we can push the shoot or something like that. But he was basically like, okay, like, I'll find someone else, and we might need to let you go if you can't make this shoot. And I was actually stunned. I was shocked that he had no sympathy, empathy. He didn't, say sorry. He didn't say sorry about the situation. He's just like, I'm gonna find someone to replace you. And just like this, like, I was on the phone with him, and in a moment I had 100% clarity. I was like, yeah, I'm quitting. Like, I'm not going to work a 9 to 5. I'm not going to have a boss. I'm not going to be told what to do. I'm not going to, have to choose between seeing my mom, helping her recover, and doing some dumb videography shoot. So I was like, yeah, man, I'm going to have to quit. And so I quit on the spot, and I had no backup plan. I had no idea what I wanted to do. I had no business. I wasn't really making any money on the side. So I kind of just forced myself to figure it out and burn the bridges. And now, 8-9 months later, here we are today, and I hit 40K in February. So I think it's one of those situations where at the time I was terrified of taking this leap, and I didn't know if I'd be able to make it and have some success. And, sitting here today talking with you guys, I think it's a testament that it happened, but not just that it happened, but that it's possible for any of you to really hit your dreams, and whatever number that is for you in your mind, whether that's, monthly income, impact, number of clients helped, like, all your goals are in reach. And I just kind of wanted to start off this presentation by sharing that story and sharing a little bit about me, so I'm not just some guy talking to you that you don't really know. So I'm just going to go over call agenda. So I'm going to start with mindset. Next, I'm going to talk about brand outliers. Third, I'm going to talk about some of the storytelling structures that I really worked with Seth on in particular to help me break through this rut and start getting views and really start getting clients with the content. And then lastly, I'm going to touch on sales systems. I know I'm a content guy, I'm a personal branding guy, but I think it is important to talk a little bit about that as well. And then I'm going to end the call with a Q&A and answer any questions that you guys have. A little bit about who I am. I basically help online entrepreneurs, typically 6 to 7 figure entrepreneurs, build premium personal brands to attract the right audience, position themselves as an authority, and bring in leads and long-term opportunities for themselves and their businesses. I'm also a content coach, content strategist inside the School of Hard Knocks. You've probably seen some of their content. Their top of funnel content is interviewing millionaires and billionaires and basically asking them how they got rich, how they made their money. On the back end of that account, they have this content coaching offer. And so I'm one of the few content strategists inside there. And I also work with entrepreneurs in there as well. We're at 79K followers right now, hoping to hit 80 in the next few days here. As I said, 40K cash in February directly from my personal brand. And my current clients that I'm working with are making a little bit more than $2 million a month right now. So we're working with some guys who are making, 100K a month, a couple that are making kind of 400, 500K a month, as well as some more beginners making 10, 20K a month. So it is a quite a big range. Just to sell you on the personal brand a little bit more. From posting content, I've had F1 drivers reach out to me. Obviously, School of Hard Knocks reach out to me, and I've been able to build this business from nothing, just from posting content. So I want to talk about the mindset that it takes, because I think this is so overlooked. A lot of times, people just say, do the work, just work harder, work more. But in order to succeed with online business, it really does take a certain level of mindset and really delusional self-belief, self-confidence in yourself that you're going to be able to reach the goals that you set for yourself, especially when you are in those earlier stages, whether that's kind of working towards hitting that first 10K month or scaling up as well. So the first one is detachment. You've probably heard that word, but it basically means that, at least what it means to me in the context of online business, is the less you care about something and the less you try to get something actively, the more of that outcome will come to you, whether that's in the content or specifically in sales as well. If you try too hard, if you want it too much, the universe can sense that, clients can sense that, people viewing your videos can sense that, and it's not going to get you the result you want. And that's something that I definitely didn't understand at the start. But talking, to Seth and Joe and just experiencing the business and getting more experience, it was like, okay, just take a deep breath. Let's not try to force the results. And if we can just focus on the inputs, the results will come to us. And that's really what happened in February, especially. As soon as I detached, I started signing, like the next day, I signed an 8K client. I signed a 12K client the day after that. And it was like, holy shit. Like the moment I stopped carrying on sales calls and like stopped wanting it so bad, it just started coming. So that's one thing. The second is what I call like the founder's ceiling. And it's a concept that basically says, before you hit, or in order to hit a goal, a record month that you've never had before, so for me, it would be like a 50K month, you need to make decisions and act as if you're already that 50K a month business owner. Because you're never going to get there if you don't act like the person who's already there. So at the beginning of starting an online business, you think you kind of have to do everything yourself. It's just like, oh, I just need to work harder. I need to work more. But if you have a goal of 50, 100K months, you need to think, guys at that level, they aren't worrying about the small everyday tasks that can be outsourced. Like they're focusing on the big picture growth. They're focusing on strategy. They're focusing on the highest leverage activities in their business. And so for me, when I had my record month, that was content and sales calls, and everything else. I was like, look, I can outsource this. I can hire an editor. I can get other people to do this, or I can do this when I have basically nothing else to do. And that was another key driver of scaling up to that 40K month in February from only like 10K in January. And then the last one is undercharging. So I realized that I was undercharging for my offer. And so I basically doubled the price of my offer, going from January into February. And so I signed more clients, but this at the same time, because each client was basically paying me twice as much as they were in January for the same offer. That was another huge component to scaling. So most of you on this call, I'm willing to guess, are undercharging for your offer. So I would think about upping the price a little bit, and we can justify that by positioning ourselves as more premium in our content and with our personal brand.
I just wanted to interrupt quickly for a question. How do you find that correct level of detachment? Because I feel like if you detach too much, you won't care about it, and you won't chase clients, and you won't send out outreach messages, and you won't post. So how did you find that like perfect balance between not caring too much and caring enough to keep on going?
I think the distinction is, it's not like we're caring less about the inputs. It's like we're still doing the same inputs, but we're caring less about the output. So like, I'm still going to try my hardest to close a client on a call, or write the best script I can, or deliver with the most energy. But after it's posted, and after I make my pitch, I'm basically going to be like, okay, it is what it is. I've done what I can do. and the results will be what the results are. So I think it's not like I'm detaching from the inputs. Like, I'm still really focusing on doing the work, doing what I need to. And it's like when I post that piece of content, right, when I drop the price, especially if I've handled objections properly, I can't do a ton more. So let's not worry about the result. I think it's really about like detaching from the outcome as opposed to detaching from the income and the inputs, if that makes sense.
Yeah, makes sense. So essentially,
Okay.
you're kind of focusing on what is in your control, and what is out of your control, you shouldn't think too much about it in a way.
Yeah. That's basically what I'm saying. Okay, cool. So the next thing I want to talk about is the brand outliers. But brand outliers are basically the way that I was able to take my views from like 2,000 views a video to, at a certain point in January, like 12, 15K views a video, and even have some videos, at 50, 100, 160K views, is really understanding the concept of brand outliers. And these are it's really simple. It's basically the unique and impressive things about you that make your brands memorable and credible. And brand outliers, I'm going to talk about a little bit later, but these are especially important to leverage in like top of funnel, or like what I call audience building content, when you're basically trying to maximize views and get as many qualified, eyeballs, people on your content as possible. So there are two types. There are external outliers and then internal outliers. So the external is basically external. So it's the money you have, the money you make, the results that you've gotten, the lifestyle you live, status symbols, cars, watches, vacation, Bali, and then like the titles that you have, whether it's like a content strategist for the School of Hard Knocks or something like that. Whereas the internal outliers are more of the things, more of the personal stories, more of the experiences, the character, the philosophy, the beliefs that set you apart from everyone else. And so the external outliers, by featuring them and talking about them in your content, those are the things that are more so going to attract attention and get views. Whereas the internal outliers are really going to build connection and depth and trust with your audience. This is an example of like an external outlier that I leveraged in my content. And this was an actual hook that I had. So I'm 22 with 70,000 followers, and my videos look better than 99% of creators on Instagram. And it all comes down to three things. So these are more external brand outliers: my age, my following, and basically the quality of my video. So those are three brand outliers I've leveraged in the first like 2 seconds of the video. And this video I think is at like 100K right now. Whereas an example two of more like an internal brand outlier, or like an internal story, I flew halfway around the world for a girl who doesn't love me anymore. So this is a video I posted recently, and it got way fewer views. It still kind of was a brand outlier, or an outlier compared to my average views, but it's not about a success that I have or something that other people want. It's more about a story of mine that's unique to me and interesting to other people. So I think as much as possible, you want to get clear on those things about you that your ideal client or your dream follower, however you want to think about it, the things that they want for themselves, those desires, and talk about them, leverage them, show them. Don't just talk about them, show them in your content as much as possible. Again, especially if you are trying to build those audiences and get views on the videos. So I just want you to be aware of that and make sure that you're including those in your content. Next, I want to talk a little bit about storytelling structure, which is honestly the biggest change, the biggest kind of before and after that I personally went through in the last 4 months. So you can literally see before I was using these storytelling structures, like I had views like 1, 2K. And then after, like I had these outlier videos and even more views now. So I want to break that down and show you exactly how I leverage stories in my videos. And obviously there's a bunch of different frameworks and everything like this, but I want to speak to the things and the structure that worked for me to help me not just get views, right, but also get tons of people onto my mailing list, and ultimately clients who are ready to pay kind of high ticket prices. So this is the structure that I like to follow, and I'm going to break each part down and give you kind of a real life example based on my contents kind of after this slide. But start with a broad brand outlier, right? We just talked about brand outliers, things that people want, that you have, that are impressive, right, that are unique to you. Use that in the hook. Step 2 is going to be a visual amplifier. And again, I'm going to show you exactly what this looks like, but basically make the hook even more valuable. And don't just talk about the brand outliers or the things that you've done for yourself, for your clients, but actually show visually the success that you have and that you actually do what you say you do, which is the visual amplifier. Then step 3 is the value. So this is where you basically give the sauce in the video, show that you're an expert, show that you're an authority in the space. And then within kind of this value, I break it down even further into 4 steps. Then after the value, there's an open loop. And the whole point of the open loop, some of you might know this, but it's basically to position the call to action, which is the final step, as insanely valuable. And like, if you don't basically take action based on the call to action, then nothing we just talked about in the entire video, it's not going to work for you as well. So I want to show you an example of this kind of in real life. So this is one of my videos, basically talking about how to find winning content ideas. So it's 71K. It has almost, I think at the time of this recording right now, it's at 1.5 thousand comments, almost 4,000 saves. And I use this exact storytelling structure to create this video, to make it go so viral. And also I signed 2 clients from this as well in February. So it literally made me $12,000. So I'm gonna basically break it down step by step here. So step 1, the broad brand outlier. So I said, I'm 22 and here's how to find winning content ideas that get you a shit ton of followers, clients who are ready to pay, and a network of high-level entrepreneurs in your DMs, right? So that's like 4 or 5 brand outliers right at the beginning of the video. It's, I'm 22, I'm young, and then here's how to find winning content ideas, right? Which is a dream outcome that your ideal client wants. And it's, and then I talk about a ton of followers, clients who are ready to pay, and a high-level network. So that's how I leverage those broad brand outliers at the beginning of the video to really hook people in and make them care about what I have to say next. Next is the visual amplifier step. So for this line, I basically say, it's right after the hook. So I say, this is the exact system I use to take my videos from this to this in literally 1 week. And when I say from this to this, I show what I just showed you earlier, a video with 1,000 or 2,000 views, and then a video with, I think I showed one that was like 130,000 views. So again, we're not just talking about the dream outcome. We're actually showing it visually that we've gotten it for ourselves or for our clients. You guys need to remember that. Trust is at like an all-time low online, and people can literally say anything they want, especially if they're trying to sell something. So there's already a little bit of resistance when people make wild claims or impressive claims online. So we want to back that up with visual proof that we've gotten this result. We've gotten the result that we say that we have. So that's really what this visual amplifier does. Let's move on to the value here. So the whole point about the value is to make it seem easy and valuable. So I'm going to break it down. So step 1, steal like an artist. So I say most creators try to come up with ideas from scratch. The problem is you have no idea if they'll actually work. Instead, I look for outlier videos from creators in my niche, content that's performed at least 2 to 5 times better than their average views. And then I basically do that same structure for step 2 and step 3. So with this value, it's super simple. You need to start by saying step 1 and then basically what the step is. Then the next line is what most creators do or what most other people do that's wrong. Then the next line is why that old way of thinking is wrong. And then the next line is basically what you do instead, or like the new way or the new right way of doing things. And this is where you really tie in your unique mechanism that you use in your offer to get clients results. And if you use this structure for step 1, step 2, step 3, by the end, you've like shifted 3 limiting beliefs and, installed your way of doing things in the mind of the viewer. So they just see you as such an authority because you've taken what they've believed in the past, basically told them it was wrong, told them why it was wrong, and then told them what was right instead. And again, this is all going to lead into the call to action at the end, and just position yourself as such an authority and as such a valuable video that they're going to have to comment for the free resource that you want to give away. The next step is an open loop. So this section of the script is basically trying to position the call to action as super valuable. So in this video, for example, I said, but even if you do all this right, generating good ideas is only the first step to blowing up on social media. And then for the call to action, I basically say, that's why I put together a 33-page guide going over everything else you need to build your personal brand. Just comment the word brand and I'll send it over for free. So I really want you to pay attention. I'm not just going from the value to the call to action. I'm using this middle step, this open loop, and which basically says to the viewer, all this stuff I just talked about is super valuable, but unless you do one more step, which is the call to action, none of it's going to work for you. Like, it's missing this one key detail. And then I say, you know, this key detail is in this 33-page guide. And so this is the key reason why so many people commented on this video, almost like 1,500 people, because it wasn't like, oh, I gave them value and then I'm like, oh, I also have this guide if you want to learn more. It's like, this is the value, but it's not going to work unless you have this one key thing, which is my lead magnet. So comment this word and I'll send it over. And that's really what positioned the lead magnet and the call to action as incredibly valuable and important to do in the minds of the viewers, which is why so many people commented. And I ended up actually attracting the 2 clients who I signed for $12K. Both of them actually commented for this lead magnet, and then I was able to follow up with them and eventually get them on a sales call. And then the last thing I want to point out with this is, when you're doing call to actions, I see so many people that say comments, this word is like super long or super complex or like hard to spell. And I'm like, why, dude? Let's just make the call to action word as simple, as short as possible. So I think some of you might potentially have call to actions that are like multiple words or a longer word. Let's keep it as short and simple as possible. Remember, we're trying to remove as much friction as possible to actually get the viewer to comment. And the longer the word, the harder it is to spell, the fewer people are going to comment, and the fewer names, emails, DM conversations you're going to open with potential clients, basically. So that's the storytelling structure that I use to really transform my views, like I showed you in the beginning. And last part I want to talk about here, sales systems. You don't need a VSL. You don't need a landing page. You don't even need to post weekly on YouTube, even though you should. I think that last point, like, I should have done that for sure, and I should be doing that. But I scaled to $40,000 cash collected in February without any of these things. I didn't have a VSL. I didn't have a landing page. I think I might have posted once in February on YouTube. Instead, I had these 4 things. All right, a valuable call to action, which is what I just went over in the scripting structure, how to make people perceive your call to action is super valuable to actually make them comment. A lead magnet that actually showed them the problem that they had and why it was important. A setter to then nurture those people in the DMs, right? Once they comment for the lead magnet, a conversation is started, the setter goes in and qualifies and looks for qualified leads and then messages them, nurtures them, qualifies them, and then gets them on a call with me. So these are literally the 4 things you need. You need, a call to action at the end of your video, a valuable lead magnet, a setter, which could be you. For me, I outsource that, and then a closer, which at this point is probably also going to be you. I don't tell you this to basically say that, oh, you just need to do less and, like, just be lazy or do less, or, don't have a VSL or don't have things like that. My point is, don't use those things as excuses like, oh, my VSL isn't optimized, or, I'm not posting 4 times like a month on YouTube, so I'm not going to see the results, or I'm not going to make any money. Or my landing page copy, like, I think that might be the issue. I'm not making any money. Like, honestly, none of that stuff is going to be the reason that you're stuck that you're stuck under 10K, or that you're not hitting your first 10K. All you really need are these 4 things. And the VSL, all that stuff's extra. And the last point I want to make is with the lead magnet. I'm sure kind of most of you guys, you have your own lead magnets, your free resources that you give out, right, in exchange for someone's email, name, stuff like that. The point of a lead magnet isn't actually to give value. It's to basically show the what and the why, but not the how. So basically tell people, this is what you need to do, and this is why it's important. And then you're not actually telling them how to do it. It's basically saying, if you actually want help implementing this or actually getting this result, then work with me one-on-one. So you give them the what, the why, but then you sell the implementation with you. And I think that's those are the 3 key things to a good lead magnet. Because if I just gave everyone everything I know and like how to implement it in the lead magnet, why would they need to work with me? Like, what's the point of still messaging me in the DMs and eventually hopping on a call? So all of my current clients commented for this lead magnet. I think maybe like 90% of my clients did. And again, if I gave them everything I know and how to implement it all in this lead magnet, they they wouldn't have had any incentive to keep messaging me and jumping on a call. So that's one thing I want to point out about a lead magnet that I think most people get wrong. But yeah, guys, that was kind of the end of the presentation. I know it was pretty quick. I left a lot of time for questions. I feel like that's probably more valuable, answering like your specific questions, than just kind of telling you everything I know. So I'd love to hear what you guys are thinking, how you thought the presentation was, and also obviously answer any questions that you have about your current situation and building up your personal brand.
First of all, I want to say, Jack, that was a really good presentation. I think, well, personally, and everyone here is super grateful that you come in and do this talk. So, you know, sharing how you've done it, the mindset, and just like all the steps you took. So, yeah, first of all, thank you, and that's a thank you coming from everyone as well. So,
yeah,
I'm excited now to open.
Thanks for having me, man.
Well, let's open up to Q&A. You guys, if you just feel free, just unmute your mic. Doesn't even need to be unmute your mic and ask a question. You just leave your mic unmuted. Let's just get into the mastermind stage of this.
Yeah,
and then straight into questions.
Cool. I'll go first. Jack, thank you. Enjoyed that. Would love to know what you think the fundamentals are of a personal brand, and what you think are a lot of people doing wrong, and what you observe a lot of people doing really well.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, a personal brand is about building trust at scale. And so the best way to do that, in my opinion, is to kind of just have two columns. Have the value, right? Actually showing that you're an expert, that you're an authority, that you know what you're talking about. But not just that, because I think too many people focus on, just posting value, you know, just sharing as much information as possible. At the end of the day, it's a personal brand, so we need the personal side of things as well. So that's the storytelling, the authenticity, the relatability, the connection. So I think that's what I've been trying to do, and that's really what most people are missing in their brand, is that authenticity, is being vulnerable with their audience. Like, I think it's really easy to share, you know, here are 3 steps to get X results, and you know, I've done it for these people, and here's how to do it. I think it's a lot harder to make a video that's like, you know, I'm really struggling with this, and you know, I was on a mission to do this, and right now it's not working, and you know, I'm dealing with this and this issue. It's harder to make that video. Like, I've been doing it recently, where I've been really trying to be more vulnerable. I made a video that was really vulnerable the last, like, a few days ago, and it was like I was scared to post it, and I posted it, and of course, like, it did really well, and I got all these like leads from it, which makes no sense because it has nothing to do with business. But I think it was a great reminder that a personal brand needs to feel personal. It needs to be authentic to you. It can't just be a mask that you put on, and value that you share, and try to position yourself as infallible or like perfect at what you do. We want to see the other side of that as well, the behind the scenes, the struggles, the failures as well, because that's ultimately what makes you human. And at least in my opinion, I don't want to buy from people who never make mistakes or are perfect. I want to buy from people I relate to and feel like have gone through or are going through similar challenges to me, but they just might be a few steps ahead of me. So I think that's how I think about the personal brand, and kind of the main mistake that most people make. Does that make sense?
Absolutely does. No, appreciate it.
All right, I'm going to shoot a question that I think a lot of people here will find valuable.
Sure.
It's not something you specifically spoke about, but I know it's something that we've spoken about quite a few times. What does your story sequence structure look like on a weekly basis, on a, you know, more focused basis? How do you think about story structures and go about posting them?
I know there's a ton of different structures that people say are like the right way to do it. The way that I've been doing it is similar to the Reels structure. Like, obviously you want like a pattern interrupt. So as opposed to just starting your story off with like a wall of text, it's good to have just an interesting picture or video that's unrelated to what you're talking about. So the hook I like to make typically is like a dream outcome, whether it's something that I did, something that I've gotten from my clients, something that I know my ideal client wants for themselves. And so I basically call it out, like, here's how I did this. And it's not like a ton of text yet. It really is like a hook. So it doesn't need to be too long. It's like, you know, here's how I got this result in this time period. Or it could just be, you know, happy to welcome this client into my program, something like that. And then it's really about giving value. It's about, so I have the dream outcome, then I'm like, step 1, this is how I did it. And it's like, so if it's my program, it would be, you know, step 1, positioning protocol. and then it would be like a brief description. So we get clear on who you are, what your story is, and what you want to sell, right? And then the next slide would be step 2, and then the next slide would be step 3, and then the final slide would be like a call to action. So it's like, if you're a 6 to 7 figure founder looking to build your personal brand, reply with the word brand, and I'll share more information. I like to come at it from a perspective of like, dream outcome, here's how to get it, step 1, step 2, step 3. And like, if you want to get it for yourself or you want help implementing it with me, comment this word. I know there's a ton of other like different story sequences, and there's a lot of sequences that aren't like call to action, but are literally just like giving value and not asking for anything in return. So I like to mix that in as well, and try to aim for like a call to action story sequence every 7 to 10 days typically.
So yeah, it's really interesting because I know story sequences have been a big driver for you in terms of especially putting up those story sequences, you know, a sales one every 7 to 10 days or so. I know, Belly, you've got your hand up. I have a follow-up question here that I think will be very useful as well. Is what does that process in the DMs look like after someone responds to you? What's being set? Is it SOP or is it very unique? Like, what's going on there?
So at this point, I have a setter that I work with. But again, he's been working with me for like a month and a half. But I think my understanding, or the way that I approach DMs, is like, most of the DMs I get are for the lead magnet that I talked about. And so if it's like an automated DM from ManyChat, sending it to them, they give me their name, their email, they get the lead magnet, then I follow up and I basically ask, hey man, what do you think of the free resource? Right? That's just such a natural way to start the conversation. Then, you know, they say, oh, it was great, or like, oh, I haven't gone over it yet. So if they haven't, then, you know, I give it a couple more hours, or I might follow up the next day. My main goal is to understand why they're commenting on it, and just basically what they don't have that they think I can give them, or like the problem that they have that they want help solving. And so once I get clear on that, then sometimes I actually refer back to the lead magnet, because it's like 33 pages, and I'm like, oh, like, you're trying to figure out who to target with your content. Page 4 actually goes in depth on that. So you should check that out and let me know your thoughts. Because sometimes people don't go through the whole thing, which is understandable. And once I really understand clearly like the specific problem that they have, then I can refer back to lead magnet and say, you know, go check this out. Then they come back to me. And then so it really depends on the prospect. Some guys I feel like are more nurtured, are more just like, hey, like, can you help me solve this problem? Or like, do you have a paid mentorship? And if it's like they're that direct, then I go a little bit more into like, yeah, man, I do this, and this. Happy to hop on a call with you if you feel like it would be valuable, and chat next steps. Sometimes if they aren't as nurtured or they aren't as qualified, I won't really bring the conversation much further. The whole point is understanding what their problem is, and then if I can solve it, trying to help them understand that I can solve it for them. And part of that process is sending YouTube videos, sending other lead magnets, and making sure that they see me as like the guy who can solve that specific problem. And once they do, then it's pretty natural to ask them to hop on a call, to book in a time with me so we can chat more. And then once they're on the call, yeah, I close them.
That made me ask, so do you not have closers? Do you close all the deals?
Yeah, I'm closing myself currently. Eventually I want to get to a point where I do have closers. I think I want to just get to a few months here of really consistent 40-50K months, and then I'll hop off and find a closer who I feel like can at least do as well as me, if not better. But yeah, I'm still doing the closing right now.
Nice. And yeah, I think my main question was like, was there a certain point or stage as to when you felt you were consistently having inbound leads coming through from the content that you're posting, seeing people consistently, you know, interacting with story sequences? Yeah, what did that stage look like? Was it a certain amount of posts that you'd posted? Yeah, I think that's the question.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it was really late January of this year when things really started working. I think it was a combination of things. I kind of finally found my winning format, which is that storytelling structure that I told you, and I was basically getting consistently high viewed videos. I think that was honestly the main driver. Just the more views I was getting over the span of like a week from the videos I was posting, the better the inbound leads, the qualified followers, the inbound DMs. There was like a strong correlation there. But then I also think like inbound DMs and stuff like that is like a bit of a lagging indicator. And what I mean by that is like, you need to be posting like good content for a while before those things come in. But once they do come in, it's like they're coming in from the previous month's content you've been posting and the work that you've been doing. So it's not like, oh, I had a really like one really good week and everything's going to spike and I'm going to get way more DMs. It's like, I might have had a really good week a couple weeks ago in terms of the videos getting views and people actually like resonating with the content. And now a couple weeks later, now all these guys are coming to the DMs and, you know, this video is getting more views over time. And it's really working for a longer period of time than just 24 hours, which is what a lot of reels do. It's like after 24 hours, they're kind of stuck at the same view count. So I think those are a couple of the main things. It really is like maximizing those views, finding your winning format, and then understanding that the work you do like 1 or 2 weeks ago is actually correlating to the success or lack thereof that you're having right now with the inbound DMs.
Such a good way of putting it, by the way. It's such a good way of putting it. I think it's almost kind of like, it's motivating to know that the results you're getting are because of the work you were doing 2 weeks ago. It's just like, okay, if it's good, I want to keep doing it. If it's not, I'm going to make sure I change. So the future me in 2 weeks is going to have the results he does want because of the work I'm putting in now. I felt like you answered the question I'm about to ask a little bit there, but when things aren't going that well, when you haven't found your winning format, when you're still like struggling with low views, you're not getting stories, you're not getting clients, like those early months, like what are you telling yourself? How will you keep going? Like, what do you tell yourself like when it's not going how you want it to
go? Yeah, that's a good one. I actually, looking back now, I don't even know how I was able to stick it out as long as I did. It's like, because it did take a really long time. Like I'm not sure how long it's taken you guys or what your situation is, but there was a lot of negativity, of anxiety, of stress that was kind of constant for several months there, right? I dropped out of my pretty high paying job at the time. I didn't have a backup plan. This is my only thing and it wasn't working. I invested in mentors, all that stuff, and it just like wasn't working. And I was like, okay, what are my options here? My options are to stick it out and keep trying new things, or my options are to give up and go back to my 9-to-5 job that I vowed I would never go back to a boss telling me I couldn't visit my mom who had cancer. Like, what are what is really the better option? And so I was like, I think I got really clear on my why and just realized like, look, if I try this and it fails, that's okay. Like, I'll admit that it didn't work out. But if I don't try, I'll never know. Like, if I try and then I quit when I could have kept going, then I'll always have this thing in my head, like, oh, what if I just hung on a little bit longer? What if I just kept going? So I think that's something that was also in my head. And I think the third thing is completely intangible. It's just like, I've always had this belief that I was going to build a business and be successful. Even when there was no logical signs that it was moving in that direction. Like even throughout university, I was trying to grow the brand and monetize it. And literally for years, like it didn't work. And I just kept going and kept trying different business ideas and different content types. And I just had that mindset, like, I'm just going to make it work. It's just going to work one way or the other. I think that's what entrepreneurs obviously need to have. Like, there's so much risk and uncertainty and chance of like failure as an entrepreneur and as an online business owner if you don't have that mindset. And if you're not a little bit delusional about your goals and what you think you're going to be able to do, then you probably won't ever do it.
Such a good answer.
Yeah, and Bailey. Yeah.
Did it take you a while to fully understand your why and really define like why you're doing this? And I'll start with that.
I think I'm still defining my why. I think your why can change, and mine has changed for a bunch of different reasons. Like the things that you maybe started, like the reasons I started my business or the people I started it for, some of those people are gone. Some of those situations have changed. Like I used to be so motivated by proving other people wrong and like sticking it to them. And I had this chip on my shoulder, and now I don't even think about that. I think about proving me right. And so I'm still on the same mission. It's just a different why behind it. So I think your why can definitely change. I think it's obviously going to be different for everyone, but I think there's a lot of similarities in why we start things. Obviously the money, being able to provide for our family, not having that stress or anxiety of not being able to afford things that we want, right? Wanting to travel the world and work from anywhere. I think there's a lot of commonalities in people's why, but I guess I'll ask you, do you feel like you don't have a strong enough why right now?
No, I think I do. I think I do. I think I was more just intrigued on how long it took you to clear that up. I mean, would you share why you, like maybe your main why of why you do this, or is it something like you said, you're always changing and clearing up?
There's not really one reason. It is a mix, but I think at the end of the day, my why is I don't want to work a 9 to 5. I don't want to have someone telling me what to do when I can take my lunch. I want freedom. I want control of my situation, of my income. So I think that's kind of the main reason, and then everything else kind of flows from there.
Yeah, because I feel like I sort of overthink how deep my why has to be, but I think just hearing that is like interesting, that it is just that matter of you don't want to work a 9 to 5, because I resonate with that. Like that is my why as well. It's part of my why. It's like I don't want to work a 9 to 5. I want to control my life, and I want to do what I want to do. So yeah, it's really great to hear. I like that. Thank you.
In the beginning, you had mentioned pricing was probably like one of the things a lot of people here were struggling with, which I think I'm definitely in that boat. I've been trying to figure out how exactly I'm going to monetize the personal brand online around the current skill set that I have. So I've mainly been doing like video production for people and like filming videos, just marketing in general for service-based businesses. And right now, the average package that I sell is like 10 videos for $1,200. So it's a little more than $100 a video. By the time I factor in my time, paying an editor, it's decent margin. But I've been struggling to position myself as more of like a premium service and just figuring out the deliverables of what that would be. I know that's a little more bigger question, right? But how would you go about like sort of adjusting my pricing and my positioning to match those?
Yeah, man, it's funny because that's something I could never figure out, because I used to have the exact same offer. Like I was a videographer. I was doing the editing myself as well, and I just couldn't honestly, like I couldn't find a way to get people to pay me more for producing videos. And that's honestly one of the main reasons why I transitioned into the coaching consulting, because in my mind it was just so much easier to charge high ticket prices. Everyone else was doing it, and so it felt more feasible. I think with the video production, like 120 a video is decent. Like I don't know that you could bump that up as much. I think the way to increase the price is to really leverage the strategy side of things, not just the deliverables, but really focus on connecting the deliverables to the business goals with a strategy, and selling that kind of that bridge or that strategy, as well as the kind of the core deliverables, almost positioning yourself like a content strategist, as well as a videographer, would probably be the way to do it, because the easier you can connect the deliverables in terms of the videos you're shooting and editing to the business goals that the business owner wants, the clearer you can make that, and basically the more trust you can build in them that you can actually get them to those goals, the more money they're going to be willing to pay you. So I think that would be my answer, is really focus on the strategy and selling that strategy, as opposed to just the deliverables, basically.
Yeah, no, that's huge. That's something I've been thinking about a lot. So
hey Jack, I have a good question for you, mate, and I'm interested to know this, because obviously your videos are high production. So how much would you say production actually matters in terms of the videography, the editing side of the outcomes you've kind of gotten with content?
Yeah, it depends on your offer. So for me, it's been a huge bonus. I sell premium personal branding. So if my personal brand doesn't look premium, then why would anyone, trust me, trust me to build theirs? I think if your offer isn't related to like the visual side of things, if it's more of like a back end offer, like systems, like obviously it wouldn't be as important for your video quality to look super premium because that's not really what you're selling. But like for me, I'm basically selling my personal brand is what I'm building for someone else. So for that reason, the quality of the videos, the filmmaking, the editing, all those little aspects, like the visual identity, what I call it, is super important. And it's a key reason that a lot of guys reach out, because they see my video and they're like, I want to be making that kind of content for my page. And then they click on my page and they see I have 80,000 followers and they're like, oh, I want that as well. And then they see one of my videos talking about, hitting this certain goal for the monthly income. And they're like, oh, like I want to scale my online business to that as well. So I think like the video quality is really like the top of funnel thing that gets people curious about who I am and what I do. And then everything else comes from them actually paying attention to the video at the start because of the editing, because of the color grading, because of the visuals. And obviously because my offer is so closely related to having good looking content, it's super important for me.
Yeah, I'm curious to know then, like how long does it take you from idea to post?
Yeah, like when I have an idea, if I want to do a scripted video, it would take me maybe 30 minutes to script it. I would film it in another 35 minutes. Then I would basically just send it to my editor. He has a bank of my B-roll that I've filmed over months and years. And I'm like, yep, let's edit this up. Same style as always. I have a really good relationship with the editing team I work with. So there's not too much back and forth or revisions, which is super key. But I know a lot of guys like to batch record at the beginning of the week and film a bunch of videos at once. I like to do it kind of one a day, and whatever I'm thinking in the moment or want to talk about, that's what I create about. But that's kind of the workflow.
Did you ever edit your own content? I'm asking this as someone who's I'm struggling with editing a little bit sometimes. I just use CapCut for most of my videos. I've been posting 200. I'm on 200 posts now. I'm not that keen on editing. I do want to get an editor. Would you say to just go and do it or improve on editing? And also, did you edit yourself?
Yeah, I edited all my videos up until October, I think, because I was a videographer editor. So I grew my following up to like 50K with just videos that I edited. So yeah, I was doing all the editing. I decided to outsource it because it is kind of a lower leverage task and it's pretty easy to find guys who are better than you at it for a decent price. It also depends on what your monthly income is looking like. Like obviously if you can easily afford it, then I would think it's a no-brainer. Whereas if it's like, oh, it's going to be quite a big chunk of my monthly income right now, then I might just focus a little bit more on the fulfillment, getting client results, marketing yourself in other ways as opposed to just try to get better editing. So it also does kind of depend on your offer.
Earlier, you mentioned about finding your brand outliers and leveraging them in a really kind of, well, obviously a useful way where it positions you as the only person that can say what you're saying. How did you go about finding them and qualifying them so you knew that the ones you found would work for your audience?
I think the first step is actually creating them, because a lot of guys, they want to find them without actually having them. So like when I was first starting out, I couldn't talk about most of my brand outliers. Like I had my age and that was literally it. Like I didn't really have a skill set. I hadn't really gotten results. So I think before you actually can leverage them in your content, you need to get a few key outcomes or have a few things about yourself, about your business, about whatever you're trying to sell. That's going to be that other people or that your ideal clients are going to want for themselves. So not everyone's in a situation where they have a bunch of strong external brand outliers. Like that's where I think when you don't really have those results yet, that's where you leverage the internal brand outliers and use storytelling, personal storytelling, building connection. And even that's what I did before I was even making any money. I was talking about my followers and my age. And like I literally wasn't making any money, but I leveraged that and then somehow started making money because I talked about those things. And then I could talk about the money that I made. So it's like you need it. you almost need to like talk about these things before you have them in a weird way, or talk about the few things that you do have that you can leverage, whether that's, you know, relationships you have with other creators, even like just showing content, like showing videos of you working with other people, on calls with other people, signing clients. Like even if you haven't gotten any results for clients, just post a story like welcoming this person into the program. Again, like it's like you haven't really done anything. It's just showing some social proof that you are getting some traction, that other people are choosing to work with you, and things like that. So there's a bunch of different ways to try to find things that you could leverage, even if it's not giant outcomes or giant testimonials yet. Just the things about you that are somewhat impressive, and work on making those things more impressive, basically.
That's a really good answer. That's a really good answer. Almost looking at like the things that are impressive. Do you find impressive by speaking to your audience, like almost imagining speaking to your past version of yourself? Like how would you be like, cool, this is the thing that I think I need to do this thing?
I think for me, my external outliers were pretty easy to see. Like people want more followers. I had quite a good number. People, you know, having an outcome is more impressive when you do it younger, right? Having the same outcome is more impressive when you're 19 than if you're 40, right? So leveraging your age, and I think that's what most people in this community should be doing as well. Obviously, a bunch of young guys. So I would be talking about that, and then just trying to put yourself in the perspective of your ideal client, the people that you want to help, and thinking, you know, what do they want for themselves? What would they find impressive? What video would they need to see for them to think, oh wow, like that's really cool, that, you know, I want to stick around, pay attention, check out this creator. So I think it's kind of like just looking at your own life and being pretty objective about it, but then also putting yourself in the shoes of the people you're trying to sell to, and try to figure out what they want, and then reverse engineer that and see kind of what you have of that list that they want, and then, you know, talk about that, especially in your hooks.
I like that. And I think it links to the mindset thing that you had earlier as well. It's like, be the person before you are the person.
Hey man, so essentially, like, my question is, let me start with a story. Actually, I'll give you some context. But I've had quite a few different businesses that I've helped grow. Some of my own, worked in a really high level or high ticket coaching offer, like between 20,000 a year per customer. And I've just taken 6 months off. Grateful to do that, be a dad.
Nice, congrats.
Thanks, man. Well, 3, so it's but now they've driven me crazy, so I want to do something. And I started an AI agency, but it's all been on like cold outbound email. I've got like no online presence, but what I'm good at is AI efficiency and human touch. You know, I've worked at that high level caliber with, you know, high level entrepreneurs on the emotional, and I've also grown and scaled a few businesses of my own. So I'm kind of like packaging it all together. What I'm getting at is, should I just focus on one thing, like I'm an AI guy that can help you do this, or should I include a little bit more of that human vulnerable side of life, fatherhood, entrepreneurial journey, etc.?
Yeah, I think you should have both, for sure. I think you should get really clear on your core offer first, and you know, try to figure out what do you actually want to sell, and make content. If that is AI, you know, show what you can do with AI, show you automating tasks and doing cool things. There's a ton of content now of like guys having super complex AI sequences to do like really easy tasks, which are really interesting and are getting a ton of views. So show your expertise in that realm. But at the same time, talk about the other businesses that you built, talk about, you know, being a new dad, talk about those other things that are going to make you relatable. Like there's a ton of guys who know AI, who can program different things. But again, if you're just posting value and tactics and tutorials, you're just becoming like a commodity brand, not a personal brand. And so the personal side of things is you sharing your story, is sharing the struggles that you've been through, even like what you just kind of share with me, like being a new dad, like talking about that in your content is going to just position you as as a real human being and make you stand out from all the other AI gurus out there who are trying to solve problems and maybe sell to your same audience. So I would definitely leverage, if you scaled multiple businesses in the past. That's a huge brand outlier. That's an external brand outlier. So I would use that. I would talk about that in the hooks. As someone who's done this, and this is why, leveraging AI is the best opportunity in 2026 or something. Like, lead with the credibility and then transition it into your offer or your unique mechanism, your way of doing things.
Yeah, I just wanted to add on to that because I also have an AI automation agency, and I've been doing this personal brand stuff for since end of September. And what I've done is basically I connect my why and my values to what I'm doing, and that's been kind of like what Jack said, doing both. But in your case, that could, for example, be that you want to automate and use AI to save time so that you have more time to spend with your kids or your family. So that's a way you can talk about both in the same video, and people will understand why you're doing what you're doing. And it's not like you said, it's not going to be just a boring AI video, but it's really connecting what you're doing. So people will be aware of that with why you're doing it, which creates connection. And that's how I've been going about it so far.
Yeah. Here's how I use AI to make my life easier as a new dad. That would be such a good top of funnel piece of content. Just getting people into your world, and then you'd have videos maybe that break down things a little bit more in depth, middle of funnel, stuff like that. So I think it's a great idea.
In terms of volume, I know you said that one a day. Is someone who is just starting out, would you recommend a higher volume, or would you focus more on quality?
I would recommend a lower volume. When I first start working with clients, I typically am like, okay, let's aim for 15 videos in month 1, and then month 2, month 3, let's scale up to 30. Because if you haven't done it before, it takes longer to actually learn and figure out and understand how to tell a story, how to script, how to film. All these things just take way more time. And so if we're trying to do it every day, the quality is just gonna suffer a lot. So in the first month, typically, I like to take a little bit more time with my clients who are just starting out and make sure that we're posting kind of 15 good videos as opposed to 30 kind of shitty videos. And just make sure that as we're learning, we're picking up good habits as opposed to just trying to rush through and get things done as quickly as possible just to post one video a day. So I would maybe start with fewer videos than once a day in the first month. And then once you feel comfortable and can actually get to that number and feel like you have a little bit more capacity, or you could do more, then we scale up, as opposed to just starting with a number that when you start trying to get there, you realize it's actually not feasible unless you really compromise on the quality. Thanks again, Seth. It's awesome being here. And I hope I was able to share a bit of value and maybe inspire a couple people to keep going with the personal brand.
Yeah. Jack, thank you for coming in and doing this, bro. So good. I mean, we're all super grateful for it. Yeah, super, super cool.